Hi, everybody. This is Josh.
This is Eric.
And this is Sean.
And welcome back to this 7% Solution, the preeminent Basil Rathbone, Sherlock Holmes commentary podcast. And today, gents, we have an exciting movie coming up called The Scarlet Claw.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my favorite. I will openly admit it's my favorite. A little bit of paranormal stuff, a little bit of gothic, and the original title of this was Sherlock Holmes in Canada. Yep. I'm completely serious when I say that, Sherlock Holmes in Canada, because this takes place in Canada. You wouldn't really know it, but in any case, well, why don't we just get started, get right into it, and I trust you both have your legally purchased DVD, Blu-ray, Laserdisc of The Scarlet Claw?
Yes, I've got it right here. I'm ready to press play.
Plus pray.
The Scarlet Claw, there's nothing scarlet, there's no claws. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yes, very good. Okay, so we're on the title screen. It's the middle one on disc 3. And I'll press play in 3, 2, 1, and play.
All right, Universal logo.
It took an extra second there for me.
Oh yeah, I was waiting for you to say play.
I should have said pray. No, actually, Sean, you're semi-right. There is a claw.
Yeah,
but it's not a creature's claw or a hand claw.
It's not a
tool. It's a murder weapon.
Well, again, like you're supposed to believe it is.
Yeah, they didn't want to give it away in the title,
and we'll get there. We'll get there because the setup isn't tremendous there. And this is the only one. Well, let's get to this. I'm really excited about doing this one. That's why I'm excited about all the things that I know about this one. First of all, you can see like the actors in this, like Gerald Hamer is back. He's the one who played Alfred Pettibone. So he's going to be back in this one. He plays a much bigger role in this one. And who's doing the gowns? We'll just make sure we.
I was waiting for you to mention that. I think it might be in the next screen. Oh my gosh! Well, there are no gowns in this one.
Clearly, no gowns.
There's like one lady, two ladies. They're both dead. They both die. All right, very picturesque.
Where there's Eric's owl, the big 5-foot owl.
A very cool way that they set this up here in the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, you're right there.
They jump right into it. And really, it didn't really matter that they were in Canada. It could have been set in London or England, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Lots of like foreshadowing even in this first scene. Like Marie with the bird in the cage. The sheer fear on everybody. Why is she just standing there talking to the bird? What's going on?
Well, she's feeding it. It's feeding time.
Okay, so here is Potts, the postman, played by Gerald Hamer, who his acting ability gets so much in this film. This is his film. Everybody has this weird vacant look on their face, looking in different directions, like not exactly looking at each other.
It's the Rubber Soul album cover.
The guy next to him, his name is Skeleton Nags. The guy next to him, right there. Doesn't he look like a Skeleton Nags? He totally does.
Are you talking about the innkeeper, or are you talking about the old guy?
No, the guy with the beard. The guy with the beard next to him.
The old guy with. Yeah, this does look like very 1940s Duck Dynasty in this.
Totally.
This inn.
That's a good point.
And there's a couple of them that don't seem like they really know the lines to the songs if you look closely in the background.
What's really interesting about this? Have you guys watched this yet?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Oh yeah, I've watched it.
I've watched most of it because I had distracted.
Okay, so we know that it's the postman, right? So he not only started it, he was the first person to say a line in this thing.
Uh-huh.
And seems the most innocent person in this whole place. It's just so well done. Because when he transforms later, he's a completely different person.
Yeah, my suspicion, I mean, spoiler, one of these people is the murderer. That's him. My suspicion was actually, uh, uh,
The priest?
no, not the priest. Do we even see him again?
Not really.
I thought it might be Marie or Maria, the innkeeper's daughter.
Oh, Marie, yeah. Marie, who, by the way, Marie is, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But she's holding on to the bell as if it was electrified to her. No, just kidding. By the way, supposedly her throat was cut horribly, and you don't see blood. You don't. She's just kind of laying there.
It's a very clean crime scene.
And he's backing away.
And backing up. And also we have the butler here, who I think they throw shade on him at first.
Oh, they definitely do, because he's not getting along with Penrose.
How about the famous Ian Wolfe, the actor playing the butler?
Ian Wolfe. Yep, he's in a few of these.
Such a recognizable face from a million TV shows and some movies. He played in 2 different episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series. And as old as he looks in this movie in 1940,
he's not that old. Yep, you're right.
What year do you think he passed in real life?
I would say the 80s.
Sean?
Maybe 1990s, maybe.
I would agree with...
By the way, he was born in 1896, by the way.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. I would say the 80s.
Yeah, I'll go with that as well, because that's when Basil Rathbone died, and they look about the same.
Oh, no, Basil Rathbone died in 1968.
He did?
Yeah.
You think they look the same age, like in 1944? But Ian Wolfe actually passed in 1992. And I think he featured... Oh, his last film was Dick Tracy, The Warren Beatty.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so we're at the Royal Canadian Occult Society. Now, why is Holmes at this meeting? No idea.
Probably piss on the party.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's definitely doing that.
I don't know if they're really going for this, but, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was really into the occult.
Definitely.
So I think they were bringing it back there. And, Doyle and Houdini had this big, frenemies thing. Houdini didn't really believe in the occult because he was a magician. And magicians famously, poo-poo the occult, that everything can be explained logically. And I think that's a throwback here. Old white men.
Yep. So, I mean, we're basically setting up the curse of L'Amour Rouge, which, of course, means the Red Death. Really not a nice name for a town. A little town in near Quebec.
It's like, well, what have you named your town? I'm going to name it the Blue Rape.
Here's the other thing about this is, like, it's supposed to be Canada, but Penrose is clearly British. And what you're going to find is it's almost, other than Marie, it feels like everybody's British anyway.
Yeah. That's...
Like, it's so, I mean, it's weird. I mean, your sergeant in this story, your local sergeant is Scottish with a heavy Scottish accent.
Sprinkle some mounted police or something in here so it looks a little bit more Canadian.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, maybe some poutine when they're eating.
All dressed pizza. So the guy who plays Penrose here, with his fading matinee idol looks, as they would say, you're going to see him again. He shows up in The Woman in Green, and maybe one other one I can't think of right now. But it's like the same stock, players that do all these movies.
And actually, he kind of looks like, if you guys know Ben Stiller's dad.
Yeah,
but like Ben Stiller's dad was like 45 or 50 years old. Or if you don't know Ben Stiller's dad, listener, think of George Costanza's dad. From
Jerry Stiller. Yep.
Yeah, I was watching a whole bunch of clips of him last night.
Looks like him. Looks like Mr.
You never said he had soft hands.
But also, have you guys ever seen like a boy servant like in something of this era? Because that kind of jumped at me. I couldn't really think of.
I mean, he's a page. He's a page.
Okay, I don't feel like I've seen many pages. Something circa 1900s or 20th century.
I feel like I have.
I feel like I have too.
Even in like olden times, like there's always like a piss boy or a
Piss boy. Oh, that's so good. Under the circumstances, I think we should adjourn. You think? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah. Or how about like when the innkeeper's daughter gets murdered and he disappears, and they're like, "Oh, let's just continue to party later on in this. We don't really."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna mention before, and now that you mentioned she died, I was gonna say she's the only one with a semi-Canadian accent in this whole thing. Oh, by the way, the guy behind the counter is Olaf Hitton, who played in Voice of Terror. He was one of the inner council. He seems to get less and less jobs as we go through the Sherlock Holmes series.
I want to see if probably. Hold on.
This is a really great idea, by the way. Essentially, Holmes is contacted by the woman who just died. Like, he even says, we've been retained by a corpse. It's like, to me, that's like, gives me the shivers. Lillian Penrose.
Well, it kind of reminds me of those recent productions, like what's that show on Netflix? 13 Reasons Why. And I saw some straight-to-video movie from last year that was like that, where the person is already dead, but they're sending communications, like basically. Either
I think that was the, I don't trust the B in apartment B, apartment 33, whatever. Never mind. Oh, so they're going to stick around, and Penrose already hates Holmes already, but it's all like masked in this. I mean, very Hound of the Baskervilles, actually. That you mask a death with a curse.
That's the thing for me, though, and they even, I mean, Watson mentioned it earlier on, but that was actually a hindrance for me throughout this movie. How much it reminds me of the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yeah, it sure does. By the way, this production company didn't do Hound of the Baskervilles; it was the previous one, so maybe they wanted to do something similar. Also, one other observation, real quick. It said Penrose Manor, 1852. This house looks like it was built in the 1940s.
Yeah, it does.
That's your place, definitely.
Yeah, this is the doors. By the way, those doors get so much use throughout the series. And what the hell is this? Like, okay, so he's with the occult, so I guess, like, he's got to pray over his wife's dead body so they transported her body from the church to his house. It's just so strange.
They used to do that.
Are they going to bury her out in the back?
I don't know, maybe. I do know that people used to have funerals in their homes, though. And people would come and, look. And he's pissed off because they're interrupting his vigil, which I don't know. Yeah. For a while I thought it even might be him, but then I'm like, it's almost too obvious.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I thought that too, but I wasn't trying to think.
Yeah, basically protecting his cause, which was, the curse and everything like that. If he could make it all function that way. That was a nice shot from the fireplace, from inside the fireplace.
That's why the fireplace was built in the 1940s, because they needed it for a cool shot.
1852, definitely.
I felt bad for Watson in this. I mean, I know in the past they've had, Watson say dumb shit, but he does it a lot in this. Like when he's talking in the occult meeting, a couple, last scene, like two people interrupt him. Like Holmes interrupts him, and
Penrose does too.
Penrose does, And then later on, when it's like Watson gets to do, he thinks he's going to get to do his own sleuthing. So Holmes just basically sends him downstairs to get drunk.
Yep.
And he learns nothing.
But actually, he figured it out. Like, he totally figured it out in that scene.
How so? How so?
Because, and maybe we should talk more about when it happens, but he even talks about the fact that the murder was done by the postman in E.G. Chesterton's book.
Mm.
And he says, you know, the postman is so invisible that, you know, because he's just there, that nobody even noticed. So nobody would have suspected him. Like, again, like when we watch the scene again, Sean, just, I don't know if you should have the subtitles on. Just check that out, because literally Watson solved this thing.
Huh.
Underneath it all. I beg your pardon, gentlemen. Oh, we need to throw in another clue. Yeah, he was the butler. By the way, the next time I throw somebody out of a room, I'm going to say exactly what Penrose says here. Drake, get out of this.
Get out of this. And Drake gave notice because why exactly?
It's unclear, and maybe, you know, I feel like what they wanted to portray there is that there wasn't a good relationship between him and Penrose.
Okay, so
you could suspect the butler in some way, shape, or form.
I guess.
Again, if you're going to kill somebody, why give your notice? Hang out until they die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so here's your Scottish police sergeant.
With a map of Canada.
It's
in all the province.
Wait a minute, we got to show it's Canada. Oh, so this is the thing that drives me nuts about this, okay? The 5-pronged garden weeder, which clearly looks like the murder weapon, is kind of just being shown to you there. So it's like you automatically already don't think that it's the curse, right? Like, it has to be the garden weeder.
Yeah.
I wish they showed it later.
Where was the garden weeder? Oh, it was just sitting there on the policeman's desk.
Yeah, it was just sitting on the desk. I use this to, guard back in the jail.
I don't know what the fuck this is. This thing with the gun. Like, sir.
They're giving him something to do.
I really thought he was going to shoot something accidentally, and then be like, Watson! And then, like, Watson would look dumb, and then they'd cut to the next scene.
Okay.
We'll just ignore the fact that he's aiming guns all over. And
Jeez, he's just, like, playing with the stupid garden weeder. And then this inane, like, discussion of, why is he aiming at the walls?
He's not aiming at it. There's not like it's stuff hanging from the walls. He's not even aiming at the pictures, which would make more sense.
It makes no sense. It's giving him something to do.
He's mimicking
you should
chicken hunting.
Yeah, we'll get you a bag of chickens at the farm. You really should ask somebody before you handle their gun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
no, but we've established he has a long history of poor gun etiquette, like throughout this series.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, there's poor Marie. As a kid, I really loved this woman that played this role. I had a little crush on her.
She's the same actress in the previous movie?
No, she was only in one Sherlock Holmes movie, and quite honestly, there isn't much else in her IMDb. Like, not actually officially IMDb. There's not much else of her that I was able to garner from, looking around.
She reminds me of Wednesday Addams.
Yeah.
It's just the blank face and the pigtails, I guess. But
here's something interesting. When Journey is about to check the book where Holmes and Watson have been signed in.
Uh-huh.
I learned this from the commentary. This little nugget. But you're going to see the two names highlighted, but above the highlighted version there is a guy named Tom McKnight, New York, New York.
Mm-hmm.
He was apparently I think he was an executive at Universal, and they were just giving him a little bit of a,
Oh, yeah.
that kind of ephemera really interests me because nobody would ever know that, but it was in the commentary. I wanted to report it out because it's fascinating. Ghosts and Monsters. He's playing this postman really well.
So I forget the innkeeper's name. Journet. So he says, apparently through Emily, that, oh, I'm leaving this place. He's taking off, which is suspicious. And you think it's a clue. And then there's a little bit of domestic violence.
Oh, yes.
That goes on. And it's kind of like, guys, maybe you should tell him not to do that. And Watson sort of does. But
by the way, he just hit that chair on the way out. And I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure that they talked about whether they wanted to reshoot that, but it kind of fits the character. So
kind of, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm sure that it wasn't like a Doctor Who situation where you didn't have enough film, so you had to swear to stop the film. I think they really decided it was, even though it was an accident, that it was a happy accident. It is weird that she told them he was leaving, that, her father's leaving. It's just...
Well, that's why she was crying,
Oh, here's your domestic violence right here.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is problematic, this movie. We better just stop.
It's problematic.
Right now.
It's also never mind. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. There's not a lot of representation here, Sean, either.
It's a
It's Canada. Come on.
40-something Sherlock Holmes movie. I'm not...
Come on. It should be erased from everybody's memory then, okay? Because it doesn't have representation.
Okay.
I'd ask you to mind your own business. I kind of would have reacted the same way. I would have been like, what the hell are you doing?
He denies that... I'm looking at some of this stuff in the background. L'oxygenie. L'oxygène. Does that mean the oxygen? It's the name of a drink? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Look at the shadow coming in from the window. It kind of reminds me of Voice of Terror a little bit. Here's the other thing that's really weird here. I kind of liked is that Holmes saw that 5-pronged garden weeder and immediately grabbed onto it. I mean, literally grabbed onto it.
And then every other person has a garden weeder. You know what this reminds me of? You know what? I just realized. Have you ever seen Hot Fuzz?
I've heard of it.
Yes.
That's Edgar Wright's his sort of quote unquote sequel to Shaun of the Dead, and it's got Simon Pegg and Nick Frost again, and they play cops in this little tiny village town. And there's something funny going around in the village,
Rassilon's in there.
Yeah, Timothy Dalton's in it, and people start getting killed in really extreme, funny ways. And everybody is suspicious. And they all have names like Mr. Baker, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Shopper, Mr.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's clever. Okay, so everybody's in fear of their life. Lillian Penrose said that she was in fear of her life. Now Journey is saying it's like the premonitions are almost undergirding the paranormal here.
Look, it's exactly like the one the policeman has.
I took it away by accident. I just happened to have it in my hand. The other thing here, that this is the only Sherlock Holmes where he does a little kind of underlying thought process, he spoke in, you could hear it. It was only for the audience to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a weird thing to add into this one. Because you never hear, I feel like if Stephen Moffat was doing this one, Like, it would be more... Like, it would be on the screen what his thought process was or something like that, or... I don't know. You know how he built out Sherlock?
Yeah.
Yes, like the mind castle.
The Mind Castle. Exactly. So they did this just with a, kind of voiceover deal. Yeah, this is really interesting. There's Skelton Nags again. Or it's the other... Is the other guy Skelton Nags? That guy?
No, that was the first one.
First one, the guy with the beard, I believe.
Yeah. Wonder why they rounded up all these guys. Went to well, maybe this is him.
Oh,
No, his beard was longer than that.
Yeah.
This guy's
guys, what's the deal with just sitting at somebody's table? Like, that's a thing?
That's a European thing.
Yeah, I think it is in some places.
I learned this.
Is it Canadian?
It's not Canadian. It's a European thing. I learned this when I was at a mall in Chicago that I worked at, and I was eating lunch, and this lady with a baby just came and sat down next to me, and it was a small table like that, and I got really pissed off and left. And when I told somebody about it, they asked, well, was she Polish? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, because lots of Polish people on the northwest side of Chicago, and you can tell who's Polish and who's not. Goes, well, that's because it's a European thing. They're used to doing that.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Like, and I think there's some like Chinese restaurants that are like, Chinese restaurants, like not Chinese American.
That's true. It's absolutely true.
This is wildly interesting. So you get Drake here, who's drunk out of his mind. By the way, the whole theme around this is everybody's drunk.
I think. But Drake being, I didn't pick up that this was Drake because we didn't see him from that angle earlier. In a way, a lot of these guys all look the same. And so I was a little bit confused. I thought that he was just a character that was just introduced. And also, for some reason, I thought his name was Fink. I have no idea why my brain heard Fink when his name is Drake. But that's Saddam Hussein behind them.
It does look like Saddam Hussein. I never thought about that. Look, he wants to be in the conversation, clearly.
Yeah, like, man, don't be so nosy. Why don't you just go back to your palace?
Oh, listen. That was the only option for this particular extra, is to try to get into the conversation. So he's like, yeah, I can play this.
Yeah.
Before you get your throat cut. He plays drunk really well.
Yeah. In acting school, the rule about playing drunk is that you're trying not to be drunk, which is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you may not realize you're acting drunk because you're trying not to be. Yeah, I've been called out in that before. Like, I'll be having a conversation with my partner, and then all of a sudden, you're drunk, aren't you? Yeah.
By the way, we just saw the usage of the word gay as happy.
Oh, yeah. No. Speaking of...
knowing that somebody got, whatever it was, like, mauled, doesn't make you very gay, does it, Watson? Is what he said.
No, in fact, I would just be, this town should be like, COVID or something. Everybody should just be like locked up and not coming out. And you know what? Let's just walk into someone's room. Let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an innkeeper that basically opens everybody's door. Like, I wouldn't stay there. And by the way, no locks on any doors?
Well, he left the door unlocked because he wanted it to seem like he was in there, which looks terrible, by the way. I'm sorry. Mr. Holmes?
I put some pillows in there. That'll fool him. Like you only put the pillows there if you're suspecting that somebody's going to check to see if you're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or maybe he thought that Watson was going to be so wasted that he wouldn't have noticed.
Which I could totally see.
Marshes. What were we going to say, Sean? Did I interrupted you?
I can't remember.
You'll think of it.
This conversation about, well, no, never mind. That's not really a clue. Conversation about where Mrs. Penrose was killed. Her body was found in the
Mm-hmm.
church. The policeman knows she was killed in the marshes for some reason. I don't remember why he says it. But then later on, our murderer actually mentions that she was killed right here by where we are right now. How did he know that?
Yeah, good question.
Unless the police business is everybody's,
Or maybe they were doing their, I mean, obviously he's there late, Sean. He's working late tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, this guy right here up against the column. This is what happens when you drink every night.
Yeah, I look like that.
That's. Don't say that.
No, not yet. But it's really interesting that they're having this conversation. Watson is wasted. Even Potts has had his share of that bottle, and everybody's paying attention. Everybody's into this discussion.
Oh, I'd be terrified if it was Watson.
All right, so this is where he talks about the murderer being a postman. Okay, so
I meant to look up the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Please go ahead, because this is he mentioned it and it passed us already.
I meant to look up that author to see if it was a real author.
G.K. Chesterton. Yeah. He's a thing, yeah.
Okay, because he says something about Father Brown. Is he the one that wrote the Father Brown mystery?
Father Brown was the protagonist, like the detective, if you will.
He was Tom Bosley.
Yeah, he was Tom Bosley.
After he was on Murder, She Wrote.
Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah. Oh, Jessica, looks like there's been a murder.
Cafe Liqueurs.
Interesting name.
You go there either before the meal or after. You know what? This is pretty cool computer generated imagery. I mean...
you mean the ghost. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes and no.
It's the 1940s, Sean. Obviously, it's not CGI.
Yeah, I know. Did they explain on the commentary how this was done?
No.
It reminded me of the way that it moves and runs around like that. It reminded me very much of that episode of The Twilight Zone with William Shatner and the gremlin on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
It runs like the gremlin on the plane.
That's such a great episode of Twilight Zone. Oh, and this is where the cop comes in. It's like, do you know if Mr. Holmes has a gun on him?
Well, wait. It's not for himself. He's just asking for the...
He'll get killed. And everybody goes and joins the crowd.
Rubble.
And
here it is.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, if you think about it, like, if you're watching this in a 1940s movie theater, like, this is kind of cool.
It is. It's I would be scared of it if I was like 10. Otherwise, I think it was...
No, but if you're in the 1940s and you've never seen any, like, special effects in movies... I mean, technically, this is where Hound of the Baskervilles comes in again. Technically, the Hound is supposed to have a glow like this. And I like the music here also. We can't hear right now, but... It has this kind of supernatural feel to it, and Holmes basically just chased it off, was not afraid, and just wanted to understand what the hell it was. How does he miss? That looked pretty close.
I mean, this effect, it reminds me of how they shot the original Tron movie in 1982, which may have actually involved phosphorus or something like that. I'm not sure. When they made Tron, but then also the way the creature thing, the way the man is jumping around, it reminds me of the animated Lord of the Rings from the late 70s, and famously, like, that movie was mostly rotoscope, where they filmed live action people and then they traced over, and that's how they did the animation. And when you see like the way they run in that animated movie, it kind of looks like that, like when they jump over rocks and whatnot. But yeah.
By the way, when you go into a bog, you immediately get a cold. It happens immediately.
And of course, the cure to a cold is putting your feet in hot water.
Right, and having the hot towel over your head.
Yeah.
You know,
and then drinking whatever it is that Holmes gives you.
In a pre-technology, pre-internet world, like this stuff seems like it could make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like that you could get sick that way, and then it makes sense. This is how you would treat it. Like in a
Eric, it's clear you can get sick from it, but like that very moment that you go in, that very moment.
Hold on a second. Wait, hold on. It's clear that you can get sick from being in a bog.
Like the very moment that he was in the bog.
Oh, I get that.
Out of the bog, he was already coughing.
No, I understand. That's crazy. But what are you saying? It's clear that you can get sick from that, but not just not that quick.
I've seen it.
No, it could happen, but it would happen in a couple of days. I mean,
well, see, I don't even understand that. You distracted me by wagging the tail, because I'm more distracted by that part of the statement than the instantaneous.
Yeah, I think that the science on, well, okay, it's not the wetness that causes you to be sick,
bacteria.
but actually making you cold lowers your immune system and you're more susceptible. But yeah, as you said, Josh, I've seen it in movies where like somebody's out in the rain in all their clothes and they come in. I mean, then, going swimming would make you sick. It's got something to do with the fact that your clothes are, I don't know.
This is weird. He's wearing his coat like half on and half off.
Oh, okay. No, I think he's got his hand in his pocket.
No. He's wearing the coat halfway.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he is. The right side is his overcoat or his long coat, and the left side is his regular over. Or is it? It's very strange looking. Why would he be doing that?
It's very strange.
Or is it just? It almost seems like a coat that.
Oh, look, it's half the coat. He's wearing half the coat right now.
Yeah. He obviously is now when you see him from behind, but.
Well, maybe he was like, I'm going to go to the mall, and oh wait, maybe not. Oh wait, here's somebody coming in right now.
He's forgotten.
I think that's body dysmorphia.
Yeah, okay, I am going to go to.
Okay, we're you know what? We've already been thrown off YouTube already, so
we're on YouTube.
Yeah, we are. I think somebody should put in the title though that it's a commentary. Anyway, never mind. Inside baseball. And of course, in the police lab, which is in the police. It's just so weird. He's got a microscope.
Well, this is CSI.
It's CSI
L'Amour Rouge. Yes.
CSI L'Amour Rouge. Oh, this guy's important.
Oh, it's Mr. Tiller, the shopkeeper, or whatever his name is.
It's Mr. Sinlenden.
So this is what?
It's Mr. Sinlenden. That's a Fletch reference.
I thought that might be what's that movie called?
No, it's John Cocktoaston.
Turton Roddy Skelton. His name is Jeff Steffington. His name is Jeff Scarlington. His name is Jeff Seniorton.
Bass, Chase, Mace. Sorry, go on.
I don't remember that one.
Oh no, that's the Seeds of Doom.
Oh,
I had to bring up a Doctor Who reference.
Oh, okay, right.
Bass, Face, Mace, Harrison Chase, the millionaire. Oh,
all right. Here we have the judge, who All
right, so the judge is played by Miles Mander, who features very prominently in the next story we'll watch. And he's one of those guys that really just came from the UK and just stayed here for the rest of his life. Loved the United States of America. Just really loved being here. How do I know this? I don't know.
Okay. Probably taxes, evading taxes. That's what.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
His housekeeper,
yeah,
Nora. At this point, I'm like, it's her. because I don't know, something about her just, and also she would have access to the fabric that Holmes
That's right.
found in the forest.
That's right.
And in a moment, Holmes does something, and I think he does it on purpose. He drops a piece of paper on the way out, and the judge jumps up to get it. I'm like, aha! You are not handicapped.
It's a Columbo move.
It's a clue. So it's him. It's him all along. But these are all red herrings, and I think they're done pretty well. Some of them make sense, some of them don't make sense. But
yeah, so Nora the housekeeper, really interesting on Nora is that she's played by a woman who is a comedian of the time.
Really?
Yeah. Her name is not coming to me right now, but she was not a famous comedian, but that's what she was. She was a comedian.
Is it Kristen Wiig?
It was Kristen Wiig.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was
oh, sorry. I'm sorry. It's
early Kristen Wiig stuff.
Yeah, it's really Gilda Radner. Kristen Wiig isn't that old.
Gilda Radner isn't that old either.
I know that, Mr. Man.
Nice Winnie. That is a scary kind of dog. Everybody's pointing guns in rooms in this particular film.
Yeah, it should be called Sherlock Holmes Goes to Texas. Really.
Sherlock Holmes gets guns, gets large rifles.
I'm sure there was tons of guns in Canada circa 1940s.
Sherlock Holmes in the school shooting. Oh, so sorry.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
We're already off YouTube already, so I guess it doesn't matter. Nice grandfather clock in the background. I'm a big fan of grandfather clocks.
How do you know it's not a grandmother clock?
Oh, I'm going to just drop this. I'm just going to drop this. It's not going to be noticeable by anybody. And who wears the same clothes every... Never mind. I don't want to ask that question.
Yeah, a lot of old people do. My mom was here recently. She didn't take a shower for like 8 days. I'm like, well, Ma, why don't you just take a shower?
You probably should take a shower on a daily basis if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
She didn't smell or anything.
She didn't play basketball, so...
No, definitely not my mom. Words with friends is the most exercise she gets.
Now he's going to repeat this sort of the same premonitions as Journay and Lady Penrose in the letter. None of that is really explained. By the way, all the very nice 1940s room there as well. Again, like Watson has nothing to do except be sick for one day and is fine now.
Yeah, and he coughed when they were at the door earlier, but besides...
Yeah, he did. He coughed. Yeah, he did.
Much better now.
Just for continuity reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying like the same things. This is inexplicable.
I'm starting to doubt whether this is really your favorite episode. I think that you may have said something about it one way or the other the last time we recorded, and Eric and I were like, no, spoilers. But now I don't remember what you said, because you're not saying any positive things about this.
Well, you know what? The reason why I like this is because it was adventurous, the way they approached this movie.
Okay. No, that's true.
Okay. You fuck up. No, I liked what they tried to do here. And I always have a deep appreciation, for obvious reasons, for the attempt at trying to make something more than what you should be able to make.
Okay.
But you're right. Like, as I'm watching this right now, I'm thinking, Watson just wasn't anything in this film. And you guys start making me think about it again. Like, certain pieces of this, like Holmes jumping to conclusions that he never should jump to, or Watson is, he's there only to get, pushed, to get drunk and get pushed into a bog. and get sick for
Oh,
like 6 hours.
he gets sick. Later on, he falls into a hole.
Yeah,
I don't know what that was.
yeah, exactly. It was like it was the same thing. He just got pushed into a hole.
And then, ironically, he kind of like figured it out. Well, he didn't figure it out, but he just said something about postman. It's interesting. I didn't realize
This is interesting too. Yeah, I mean, moving into this sort of what you think might be the climax of the story is here. Also some interesting tech that he set up where he can, when people go and step on a certain step, like he gets a little buzzer. Like all this seems like it's trying to be more modern than it should be, and it's so clear that this actor is the same actor as the postman. Maybe in your first viewing, maybe not, but
I wouldn't say it's that clear.
No, it's not. It's not like when Holmes does it, and you know.
I've done nothing.
It's got this whole Rasputin thing. So,
I was gonna say, who's he supposed to be? Because he looks like Rasputin.
Yeah, he's just playing a different character.
But why does he put on makeup?
He's an actor
and hang out. And go hang out by himself in this dilapidated house.
It's a good question. Like maybe he suspected that Holmes was, behind him in some way, shape, or form. I don't mean that biblically.
How? Oh, look at the glowing thing. Okay. So obviously this must be the guy, and there's going to be a little standoff now. And I'm like, I really thought this was where the end was, and I was kind of
exactly. You think that this is the climax?
We find out that his name is I can't remember his name now. Normand, Alistair something.
Yeah, you're close.
Sure. How?
It's Alistair Ramson.
There you go. Nice name.
And he's supposedly an actor who murdered somebody and was in love with Lady Penrose. If you really want to, I mean, everything is like Journey is a guard at Talon prison, and Judge Brisson was the one who sentenced him. So this is a revenge tour.
Okay, so we pick this all up, of course, from a torn picture. And
right, so it had to have been torn in half, and the other half had to have been found some. I mean, it's such a trope, the torn in half picture and stuff like that.
Why does Holmes come to the? And it's just maybe I don't remember, but why does he come to the conclusion soon that the judge is going to be in trouble, or the judge will be the next victim?
Well, he thinks the judge is in trouble anyway because the judge has the same premonition as some of the other guys, and I think what happens is the Tanner event made him temporarily forget that he was trying to protect the judge, and like he just was reminded of it, and like Holmes again, like in this one, he's so fallible. He makes mistakes in this one that cost lives.
Mm-hmm.
He's not perfect. He makes mistakes here. And so, as a result of Holmes sort of forgetting about the judge, it costs the judge his life.
That's a trope that you see that a lot, and I've read it a lot in murder mystery stories.
Okay,
like stuff like Nero Wolf.
The fact that he like broke into Penrose's house and starts looking through shit here, it's very unusual. And that he was lucky enough to find the other half of it, which was sent to Lady Penrose by Alistair Ramson.
And now Mr. Penrose is like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Get out!"
I don't blame him. I'd be pissed too.
Yeah, you just come in here in the dark. Like I could shoot you if we lived in Texas.
Hmm. I mean, clearly the reason why she sent the letter to Holmes in the first place was because of the torn photo. But she doesn't mention that at all in the letter to Holmes.
Of course.
Like it's way too cryptic. Maybe she had meant to tell him about it, when she saw him after he had sent the letter or she had sent the letter. Who knows? But it's kind of an and what's with the Nazi I guess that's a that's a ban because he's like thinking about his wife or whatever, right?
Yeah, in mourning.
Yes.
Um, I I may have missed something here because there was a point in this where I thought, wait a minute, have I not been paying attention? Have I been kidnapped by aliens? Because I don't know what's going on here, and there are a lot of names to remember. And when he mentions Tanner, the Tanner incident, I couldn't figure out who. Wait a minute, who's Tanner? There should be a like a
Yeah, it's confusing because that particular character is brought up very quickly and also dispensed with quickly because they just went into that dilapidated hotel or whatever it was
uh-huh.
where Ramson was actually creating all of his characters. Creating the Tanner character, creating the Potts character, etc. It was his, sanctum sanctorium. And the picture in the background, maybe it's Lady Penrose? I don't know, but it's strange that it's there.
Hmm. Well, you know how rich people are; they hang up portraits of themselves in their homes and whatnot.
Yep. Yep. I mean, my mother has a picture of her in her wedding dress. It's huge. Massive, massive picture. I'm like, huh? What? Um, okay, so he just got reminded of Judge Brisson by Penrose. Just like he completely flaked on Judge Brisson.
But what would make him okay? So if the murderer is an escaped convict, he kills the lady that he was in love with.
Yes.
And then Holmes is like, okay, now he's going to kill the judge and he's going to kill, that's a ridiculous conclusion. Like, just because he's the judge, he's the one to put.
No, no, no. Sean, actually, Tanner mentions this. Was it Tanner that mentions this? I forgot. But basically, there's a scene after Judge Brisson dies. We'll talk about that scene because there's a scene where he says that 3 people deserve to die.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? So you don't get this information until you realize, and supposedly that looks like Nora, but that's not Nora.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It doesn't look like her though. In a moment when we see
Exactly.
her.
Like
It's okay. It's not her. And then I immediately thought, oh, wait a minute, it's her all along, and she's dressed like a man. Here we go, the psycho.
do. And you know what? This is a frightening scene.
Night of the Living Dead shot there.
5-pronged garden weeder. I mean, Holmes basically screwed up here. Oh God, he tied up tied up all the dogs. Really? Would Holmes really say that? I don't think so. I mean, Judge Brisson was an idiot anyway. Oh, and literally just leaves. I mean, Holmes really screwed up.
I guess he didn't see, quote unquote, Nora.
Didn't No deductions, no nothing. He just was behind the 8 ball on this.
What's that in the floor?
That's the 5-pronged garden weeder that killed Judge Brisson.
Oh.
Apparently, there's a lot of these garden weeders hanging out.
Yeah, he went to the tailor or the store owner to figure out, who buys that cloth. He should have done the same thing with the garden weeders.
Exactly. It's interestingly enough, like, again, no blood. We don't see a lot of blood. If you were to cut somebody's throat with that garden weeder, like, there'd be blood everywhere. It'd be spattered all over the walls. It would be, because you get the carotid artery. It would be just a pool of freaking blood. And there's Nora.
Agatha Christie, her murders were pretty neat. And it was her brother-in-law who said, why don't you make a mystery with lots of blood?
Oh, really?
So she did that where a guy had his throat cut like that and there was blood all over the room. And it was a Christmas story.
She's
like it was like murder at Christmas.
She was squirming weirdly there.
Look at this poor woman. Yeah. Oh, I'm in my underwear. Oh, Jesus Christ. And then I'm like glad it wasn't her because she seems nice there.
You think you need to call the police? Really, really stupid. Really dumb. I can't believe how freaking stupid he was in this. Again, he knew, the policeman and Watson are like celebrating the death of Tanner. And he's like, no, he's still alive. And yet he completely just flaked on Judge Brisson.
Oh, here's his wigs collection.
It's Alfred Pettibone.
That's where he hung out. That's something from somewhere. What is that?
Oh, that's Sherlock Holmes in Washington. Remember?
Oh.
He's the guy who was on the train. It's the same actor.
That's right.
The guy who says, "Permit me." Oh, this is where you see the stair has that special. You step on the stair and it puts a buzzer. Like
my favorite is when Nigel Bruce steps on it. It's not that stair though. I think it actually looks like a real blooper when Nigel Bruce.
Yeah, it totally does.
He falls. It's like, oh shit, my pension.
No, this is when he actually like has a literal conversation with him, and he has his voice is wildly different. The real Alistair Ramsden, obviously is a scary MFer. So it's the same place that they found Tanner, right? So you're basically,
Okay, so this is it. I see. This is what okay. It's the same place. He's going back. There's different stuff there. So the guy here that's going to hold him at gunpoint is not the same guy?
It is the same guy. It's the same guy as Tanner, but he's not playing a role anymore.
Okay, he's doing... Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I understand.
He's not playing a role. So he plays several characters. He's an actor, and he plays several characters. This is his real person, who he really is.
So when they were there before, he took off, he swam away.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to go back to his secret lair, which is no longer a secret. Then when Holmes enters the home, he escapes through a secret passage. And then he's like, oh, never mind. You know what? I'm just going to kill Holmes. He knows too much already. And he's going to tell him his whole plan before he kills him, which is fine. That's not...
Which is, James, every
James. Sounds legit, Sean.
Yeah, he's like, well, who is it you want to kill? And then he's like, I don't object to that.
No, the best thing is, like, I don't want to go to the grave without knowing your plan. So can you do me a favor and tell me?
Because that always works.
Oh, this is what I was telling you about. Like, there were 3 people in my life who didn't deserve to live.
2 of them are dead already. And I'm like, oh.
And Watson's about to screw... Well, I don't know if Watson actually screws this up in a bad way, in that he doesn't... that Ramsden gets confused and, shoots whatever, and Holmes was able to duck out of the way, but...
Here we go. Nothing like an old guy with a cane and a gun to come and rescue you, which he does.
And a bumbling fool at that. Who was just in a fog, had a cold, and the cold went away, all within 2 days.
Here we go. It's about to happen. Nigel Bruce falling down the stairs. It looks so real to me. I am looking forward to seeing it again so I can. But Holmes is really nice about it. Oh, here he goes. Sir, be careful. Sir, maybe you should be.
The name of the third person is?
I thought he was going to fall all the way down the stairs. There you go. There he goes. Oh! You know, and he went head first.
Oh.
That would have killed him in real life.
It would have hurt him a lot. He would have been hurt.
There's another gunshot. He gets it like, Watson, it's okay. No, this isn't for you. Don't shoot. Watson, no. But Holmes is nice about it. You saved my life.
Well, he did. I mean, technically.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he was really talkative, as most Bond villains are. I want you to die, Mr. Holmes. Sorry.
Here's his wig.
He got away again. Like he's starting to see like he's really screwing this thing up. He said something here really strange that they mention actually in the commentary too. I think he says that Ramson is a paranoiac.
Yes, he does. Yes. I don't know what that is.
I mean, somebody who is paranoid? Like, I never...
Well, he's paranoid. That must be what that means, but he would be going back to his same fucking secret lair. Unless he's going there to get his drag attire so it can be on RuPaul's Drag Race.
I think that's next.
Canadian edition.
I mean, he did Nora already and did it pretty well.
Yeah. And we see some other things. I don't know.
Oh.
What have you learned?
So paranoiac, yes, it refers to paranoia or paranoid schizophrenia.
Okay.
So
okay.
It could be paranoid and or someone who has characteristics of, multiple
personalities. I mean, I don't see him as a multiple personality guy. I see him as, he plays multiple characters, but I see him just as simply somebody who is in this for revenge.
Wait. I'm so sorry. Is this the one with the guy in the back that doesn't quite seem to know? Yeah, on the left. He's just... no, he's in the center of the frame.
I like the guy who's drinking out of the bottle. He's like, that tastes good.
So wait a minute. A paranoid schizophrenic is other people, like Sybil. But that's not what a schizophrenic is, right? That's a...
No. Sybil had multiple personalities.
Okay. Which is kind of rare as opposed to schizophrenia.
Very rare.
Okay.
Very rare. Schizophrenia is less rare, but can be debilitating.
Yes. Like, you're going to move all of your worldly belongings to Chicago because the mob is after you and they're talking at you through the icebox.
Who did that?
I remember when I was a little kid, my grandma had a friend that... I've also been working places where somebody who's paranoid schizophrenia will come in and ask me for advice. It's a long story.
I'm kind of happy that they didn't really show Marie here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her death had to happen for Journey's journey. But it's not something. I'm glad they didn't show it. I'm glad they just sort of hopped over it.
Holmes does say at one point, like, I'm not the executioner. I'm supposed to, bring them to justice or something. I'm just supposed to, find out who it is. But I really think that he tells Journey, like, oh, by the way, that he's killed your daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And he knows that that's going to drive him over the edge and probably end up killing the killer, which is what happens. And by the way, nobody puts a finger on Journey after that.
No. And Sean, this is consistent for the Sherlock Holmes sort of the character.
Uh-huh.
The character does a lot of things that he talks about the fact he's not a policeman. Like, it's not, that's not my job. My job is not to be the policeman.
Yeah.
And so many times in the short stories, he lets people go. He sets them up to be killed because they're completely evil.
Yes.
Like, it's morally, it's not morally what you would expect.
The Nero Wolfe books, which wouldn't exist without Sherlock Holmes, or Agatha Christie, but they do that a lot in those. 4 times out of 5, like, he reveals who the murderer is and says they can go, and they walk into the other room and commit suicide or something like that, and
but I mean, Holmes has been known to allow a death of an evil person. For instance, like in The Speckled Band, by the way, my favorite Sherlock Holmes story of all time. He lets the snake bite. He actually made the snake crazy enough to bite Dr. Roylott and kill him instantly. And after that, it was my favorite line from any Sherlock Holmes, which is like, the violence indeed recoils upon the violent, and the perpetrator falls into the pit which he digs for another. It's like one of my favorite lines.
When I was a kid, somebody gave me like a kid's book of Sherlock Holmes stories. Like it was illustrated, and it was like the abridged, versions of those stories, like the Reader's Digest version. Yep. And it was illustrated, so there was a picture in there of that guy being killed by the snake. It was like wrapping around his head, I think. Freaked the shit out of me. I'm like, my God.
They do it really well in the Jeremy Brett series. They do it really well. And they have an actor in that plays Roylott who you don't mind when he dies. You're just like you're cheering when he dies. It's so good. The Jeremy Brett version of that, of Speckled Band, is so good, you guys. They do such an amazing job on that. I could talk about that, but I'm not going to, because we're watching this. So,
well, there's not much to this, but go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they figured out that Journey was going to show up at Brisson's house because it's the best place to go. Because, he wouldn't come back. He wouldn't go to look there. It's like actually kind of a smart move.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he had to get in the house and stuff like that, but
yeah. How long is this one?
It's coming to a conclusion soon.
Oh no, I know, because I watched it. But how long is it compared to the others?
This one's slightly longer, I think, than
that's others. What I thought.
Yeah, this one's slightly longer.
That's what I thought.
But they all go shorter from here.
All old people in old movies, when they get upset or they get in a tussle, their hair falls forward.
Yeah.
So they get Skeet Ulrich hair from Scream. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah. I wanted that cut back.
I saw that as soon as you said
it. The other thing is really funny is that people get older quickly back in the 40s. Like, it almost feels like,
it's not just the 40s. It's like everything prior to the year 2000. Like, people age.
I think you're right. Like for whatever reason today, like, older people just look better. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. When I was a kid in the 80s, I thought guys who were 35 at that time looked like old and grizzled as shit, and they were like 35 years old.
Yeah.
Here's a perfect example. You guys want the perfect example of that? George Wendt in Cheers was 34 years old.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Now think about, I'm sure you guys have all seen Cheers.
Yeah.
Of course.
George Wendt looked like he was in his mid-40s at the very least, but he was 34 years old.
I saw him in something recently that's a lot more current, a horror movie. He looked really old.
Well, I mean, Cheers was 40 years ago.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It started 40 years ago.
And
This is
and then
interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was just gonna say, isn't Nigel Bruce 3 years younger than Basil
Yes,
Rathbone?
he is. I mean, unfortunately, he died in 1950. So 4 years after the last movie.
That is crazy. And he was probably still playing the character. I know he played the character. He continued to play him on the radio, but
On the radio.
with a
Yep.
different voice actor as Holmes.
Yeah, exactly. I think his name was John Shirley.
Cheech Marin back there. Cheech Marin. What is it called? Up in Smoke.
Yep.
He was in attendance there in the bar.
This guy's supposed to be Journey, but you can tell it's Holmes. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really Holmes.
My favorite Watson, Ben Kingsley, without a clue.
He's my favorite Gandhi, too. He's got another 5-pronged gun weeder. He bought the whole lot. There must be a Lowe's there. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say Costco. Like, excuse me, did anybody buy this case of 10 garden? Oh, yeah, it was the postman.
by the way, when he said Ramson, it sounded like he didn't expect it was Ramson for whatever reason. You just look how different he looks now versus the Potts character.
Yeah, they did a really good job with the makeup on him. Much better. I think I said this earlier. Much better than they do with Basil Rathbone, and you can just tell the minute he walks in the room. This guy was, and a lot of it has to do with lighting too, because they saw him in a lot of dark areas. But he
doesn't even look like Alfred Pettibone there.
Yeah, he looks younger.
Yeah, he looks different. The announcing that Holmes was leaving to make the murderer think that he's safe, another Hound of the Baskervilles moment. Because they did that in Hound of the Baskervilles too. And having him, run off into the marshes, another Hound of the Baskervilles moment.
as I say,
Very Hound of the Baskervilles.
werewolf.
Oh, is that the guy you were talking about? The skeleton nag.
No. No. Oh, yeah.
And why are there bobbies? Why are there British bobbies?
Are there?
Yeah, did you see that? There's a British bobby.
They just got there from London. They just got the telegraph. And they're like, go ahead to help, mate. I'm sorry, that's not a British bobby. That's like an Australian whatever.
There, right there. Do you see that?
What?
They're dressed like British bobbies.
Oh, I'm a little couple seconds off from you. But yeah, I did see the guy with the big hat. And here.
Oh, here's Journey with his revenge killing.
Yeah.
And there's a great there's a picture of Journey with the five marks on his face, which you don't see happen.
Oh, fun true fact. They did have police in Canada that looked similar to Bobby's up into the 1940s.
Interesting.
Oh. Okay. Well,
Who knew?
Who knew?
So I guess that worked out.
well, we're just gonna let him go. He killed a guy.
You see the spots on his face?
Yeah.
Ramson's instrument of death has been his own executioner. Of course, there's no garden weeders anymore in the whole of Le Mans Rouge. So if you really want to weed the garden, you're kind of screwed. You have to go to the sergeant and ask him to borrow his.
Watson, I'm stuck in a hole. Oh, here's the patriotic Canadian moment.
Yes, exactly.
Which reminds me of the one when he goes to Washington. He says something very similar, like
Canada, the linchpin of the English.
The linchpin of the English-speaking world. I don't know what he said that. And I'm like, what does he mean? I mean, I thought it would be England.
I mean, they seem to do this after every episode in these first stories. This stops, by the way. This is not something they continue to do.
Oh, that's good. It's not like it's freaking Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Like, it has nothing to do with the story. Like, in the beginning, it had to do with sort of the war and stuff like that, but this had nothing to do with the war at all. Sherlock Holmes in Canada. What'd you think, guys?
I'm gonna let
Victoria Horn. That was the comedian.
Disappointed, Josh. There's no Vera Wang or whatever her name is.
I'm really mad about Vera Wang not showing up.
Yeah.
There's an actual Vera Wang who does like gowns now. Like she's
I know.
legit.
I can't remember,
but I'm sure it wasn't the same Vera Wang.
I guess they stopped selling bail bonds because we didn't get an ad for that.
No more war bonds now. Strange because
bail bonds. Jesus, bail bonds.
buy a bail bond on your way out of the movie theater.
Yeah. I'll let Eric go first.
Yep, Eric, what do you think? What do you think of?
Yeah, I have the most boring reaction, probably out of the three of us to this movie. Well, I see that I don't. That's why I don't like to read things or hear things going into almost anything in general that I'm watching, because it's not just Josh. I mean, in the commentary, one of the opening lines is, this is probably the best of the Universal era of Basil Rathbone, Sherlock Holmes. That is repeated in the Wikipedia article. If you go on IMDb for this movie, the top user review states the same thing as well. That this is it. This is the best. The best.
It's one of the best productions. Let's put it that way.
Well, I don't know about that either. Well, I'm mixed on that as well. So, as I already stated earlier on, the fact that it reminds me so much of the Hound of the Baskervilles, that affects me, like, in my engagement. Even though there's actually, comparing it to the Basil House of the Baskervilles, there is more going on plot wise in this particular in the Scarlet Claw. So there is more, but because I have that weird baggage affecting me, it kind of caused me to tune out more, which is unfortunate because, like I said, there is more going on plot wise with this one. I think they certainly got down like the gothic look, because if ever there was one of these Sherlock's Basils that I've seen, it definitely has that Universal, even though I've not seen any of those Universal monster movies, the classic ones. I can just imagine that this has all that type of atmosphere, which is cool, I suppose. And you said best production. That's kind of a mixed bag, because there are scenes that have that feel I was just speaking of that are really well done. But it's a mixture. There's like these really well done mood scenes, and then intermixed, there's some of the cheaper looking scenes that we've seen like in the previous movie and some others. So it's a weird mixed bag, because these were B movies and there were so many of them and they were kind of pumped out. Like a lot of the interior sets in this movie, like they feel so reused to me.
And they did. They reused all of them.
Yeah, and it's obvious. It's weird because it is, in modern terms, it is like watching a straight to video. Like if this was modern times of streaming on Netflix and Hulu and whatnot, this is like a streaming movie where you feel like you've seen the sets like in numerous like sitcoms and dramas, and they've just been reused for this. And I'm not saying that's a detriment. It's just another weird distraction in my brain that takes me out of the movie just because my brain is overthinking things too much. And actually, it is quite good. It's just, I guess I wasn't engaged because of this baggage I'm speaking of. And yeah, so I mean, it's not bad. It's just I feel like I failed the movie more than the movie failed me. Is what I think.
Huh.
You're right, by the way, that they reuse a lot of stuff, and they reuse a lot of stuff throughout.
Yeah, and
throughout the series, throughout the 14. Well, let's say the 12 films that are all Universal.
Yeah,
like it's the sets are kind of consistent, all done, with little changes across the board. I mean,
yeah, I can easily compare it to like my love of Star Trek, because if you've rewatched the Shatner Star Trek movies as many times as I have, and if you've seen all the Next Generation stuff, if you've seen it as many times as I have, It's the exact they use the same sets in the Star Trek Paramount world from the late 70s all the way through the 90s. It was all the same sets over and over, repainted, redressed. And yeah, I get it. And it's not their fault. It makes sense. It just distracts me, as I'm trying to take it all in.
I mean, it's going to drive you crazy because my second favorite is called House of Fear, and it's on.
Don't say it. Don't tell us that.
But I really wish this story and some of the other Basils, I wish they weren't produced as B films. I wish they were produced, some of them, as like mainline films, and like that would be so cool.
Well, how many out of 5 would you give it?
How many garden weeders? How many garden weeders would you give this one, Eric?
And that's almost comical as well. How many of those weeders we see, even though I'm sure it's the same one, but just over and over. I'm personally giving it a 3.5, but that's on me because I think more realistically it's a 4. It's just I have a brain eating virus or something. So that's why I'm giving it a 3.5.
Sean, what did you think?
You know what? I'm going to comment on something that Eric said that I actually agree with. Well, first of all, shame on you, Josh. You did say this was your favorite the last time we recorded.
It's one of my favorites, yes.
Yeah. And then, Eric, you mentioned that you were looking at reviews on IMDb, which is not the best thing to look at reviews on.
Well, I didn't do that before I watched the movie. That was post movie.
Okay,
but I did listen to the commentary a little bit, and the guy, that's one of the very first things he says.
As a you know what? I just thought of this while you were talking, but these movies look so cool on my big screen TV, and if like Alamo Drafthouse had like a marathon,
that would be great.
I would totally go see it.
Oh my god, I would fly down for it.
I mean, like, I don't even care what 5 movies they picked. I mean, just, sit there all day and watch some of these in the theater. And I don't know for sure. Is this really considered a B movie? I know it's shorter.
No, yeah, they certainly are.
They are B movies, yes.
They're Universal monster movies, which is what made them the most, but those were early on.
They're known as B movies because there wasn't any, you'll find that it's a very enclosed group of actors that were in this, and they were all British actors that were all in California, kind of working together on these.
Yeah, because most of them were contract B movie actors for Universal, so they all they constantly pick from the same pool of.
Yep.
People.
That's why you see the same people over and over and over again.
Okay.
And I mean, you guys know I've seen these dozens and dozens of times, so
yeah.
I can't even tell you the first time I saw Scarlet Claw. I can't even tell you. I don't know. I was probably 12, when I first saw it.
Yeah, I wish they had shown these on free TV because when I was growing up on PBS.
Sure. I mean, at least up here they.
That's how I saw the Charlie Chans when I was young, because they would show them on PBS and I think other places besides.
We had an independent station that showed these all Sunday mornings.
Yeah, I think it was an independent station actually where I saw the Charlie Chans, and I wish they would have shown these as well, because I'm sure I would have been as much into these as I was the Charlie Chans when I was a kid.
All right, but I'm not done with my review.
Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
Yeah, to quote Patsy Stone. However, the next day, I don't really like this story, and I like it even less after we did the commentary.
Wow.
Really? Okay.
And Josh, you kind of helped or hindered that, whatever you might call it, because you were pointing out all these. Well, why is he doing this? Why is he doing?
I mean, I do point out the flaws of even the best stuff that I see. So
yeah, it's a lousy detective story, but I think it's more akin to the Bloodhound Gang than what Sherlock Holmes is really about. Which, if memory serves, they would do a lot of Scooby-Doo haunted house shit, or maybe that's the opening to that little segment that they did in there. I don't know.
Oh, you just wait. You're gonna get the Scooby-Doo stuff. It's coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was kind of Scooby-Doo too, because we have this guy dressed up as a ghost.
Yeah, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for these meddling kids.
Yeah. So I didn't really. I'm like, oh, okay, guys. starting to slip a little bit. You're not quite as charming. It's almost like you want to show off, so I'm going to give you 3 out of 5 star, or 3 out of 5 garden claws.
Garden claws, garden weeders.
Wow.
Garden weeders. This is,
I was expecting you to go that low.
yeah, this was, yeah.
So I appreciate that. I mean, I totally appreciate everything that you guys have said. And you know what? I did tear it down a little bit during this thing. Because I'm noticing more and more as we're watching these, and I'm listening to your comments. So, like, I'm actually breaking this stuff down. Like, Watson was really, full of crap in this one. Right? Just there was so many things wrong with Watson in this one. But I think that they had made a concerted decision that that's what Watson was going to be anyway in the series. And he was much less of that in the beginning and much more of that as the series went on. I will say that the reason why I like this one so much is because I felt like there was more depth to this one versus some of the others, in that Holmes was not perfect in this. And a part of what I'm looking for in my heroes is like not being perfect. I feel like that's something I want to see, is when they're not perfect all the time. The other thing about this is the gothic horror, and you guys know this, like, we all loved Doctor Who as kids, but this was a season 13 story for Tom Baker, in my
No. Okay.
Okay, so maybe that's one of the reasons why, like, this one hit me in a really good way, because it just felt like it fit into that genre. And yeah, I like the depth of it. And that's probably the reason why I liked it so much. So, I mean, I would give it a 4.5 Garden Weeders, because of this series, it's one of the ones that I reminisce about, and one of the ones that I really appreciated when I was younger.
Another thing I'm curious about, like, historically, like in the real world, is I'm curious, like, in the 1940s, and maybe it was even true up into the 80s. I don't know. I wasn't an adult in the 80s, but the whole idea of the occult society, and how people could put so much credence into bizarre happenings. Like, I wonder, I suppose, would that be considered extremely plausible, like in real life in the 1940s?
Yes.
I'm gathering it would be. I mean,
that general, like, if you had a situation like in the movie, but it was in real life, that if you were to ask people in the general public in the real world, would like 70% maybe go,
I think
totally sounds legit.
I think that would be more common, like maybe 10 or 20 years before this, when you had, and I can't remember their names, the sisters, and you'd have a lot of these sisters that were supposedly psychic, and you had a lot of academics come out and watch them. And then that slowly petered off because a lot of people thought it was bullshit. And then I think maybe within the last 10 years, it's gotten a little bit different, albeit a lot more fanboyish, if that makes sense.
What's even weird related to this in present day 2023, man, if you dig into a lot of the officially released UFO, or they call them something else, the military, the U.S. military calls them something else, not UFOs, like UFPs.
Yeah. They call them UAPs now.
UAPs, whatever they are. But if you dig in, like, take a deep dive into the footage that's been released and watch that stuff, and hear some of the, like, the military pilots' accounts, like personal accounts.
It's a psyop, Eric.
That stuff is completely insane in modern times, like unexplainable. But the weird thing is, now that stuff is officially coming out, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like, people are just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
Apathy.
You're right.
It's mind blowing. It's like the opposite situation. It's because this stuff in present day does intrigue the heck out of me, and people just go, oh, whatever.
In present day, it's almost like, these things are, even though there's so much information out there, the reason why you can't focus is because there is so much information, in my view, because you're literally being bombarded on a day-to-day basis with stuff. So it's almost like our brains aren't ready to focus on a lot of different things. And you were saying, like, is it different from the 40s to the 80s? And I would argue that since the end of World War II until probably 2004 or 2003, life was basically the same. Like, especially maybe it wasn't 2004, maybe it was 1994. Before you had the internet, before you had, this connection, there was almost no difference in the world in those 40 years.
Especially, I've said this before on podcasts, reflecting on living in England in the 1980s, Cold War England, like everyday life was no different than living in the 1940s or 1950s.
Exactly.
Like everything was the same, only like the styles, colors on shirts. That's like the only thing that changed, and sweaters.
You're dead right. Yeah, it was the same. Both my parents and I grew up in a similar environment, very similar, and that was multi-generational, and it didn't really change until the internet hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. Ugh, it's weird.
It's weird to think about that because we always thought our parents were old and lived in a different time, but the 1950s and the 1980s, almost no difference.
Yeah. Well, my parents are still old, and that is definitely apparent in this post-internet age, because now their age, definitely shows more than ever when it comes to all the modern technology, etc. Yeah. My parents are going to the grave, never having Wi-Fi or cable. They're taking that to the grave.
Wow. Well, this was fun, and there's more to come. That's the most exciting part, is that there's absolutely more to come.
All right, Alice.
And there are 2 more discs and 1 more story on this disc.
Yeah, I already feel like we're on the downward slope.
We are.
As far as the series is concerned. It feels like every time I look at the box set and I look at the list of movies, and I'm just like, oh man, they're running out. Yeah, because this is the 8th we've done so far. And
we're on the back 9, what you would call the back 9 in golf, but really the back 7.
And at time of recording, I think only the third 7% solution, only the third has released on the feed. So we only just released like a recently recorded one, because obviously the others were recorded in 2016, 7 years ago.
Crazy.
And I know Caleb has a crazy schedule. I wish he could have joined us on this for even though it's historical, any remote Canadian ideas or reflections.
I mean, it's Eastern Canada versus Western Canada, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I get that too. True.
But I was explaining the bobbies, so that's really great. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, yeah, now I know that was standard dress in Canada up until the 40s.
Well, so we'll close this out, and next time is a Pearl of Death. Interesting story. And we'll talk through that next time. But until then, this is Josh.
This is Eric.
And this is Sean.
And we'll see you next time on the 7% Solution.
Well done, Josh. You did it. I couldn't do it unless I had it written on paper. The official closing or whatever.
Well, I didn't want to do the don't panic thing again. I just it takes too much effort.
Yeah, it's trademarked, etc.
Trademarked.
I want to get in a legal battle with ourselves.